toward the end, because right now we need to talk about the Republicans making the rounds to defend Donald Trump's heinous cabinet picks. We already know that the number one prerequisite appears to be allegations of severe misconduct, preferably, apparently, crimes against women, if you want to be nominated for a cabinet position. We also already know that Republicans have shown little interest in being a check on Donald Trump's horrendous picks.
Hold up. See what's happening here? This is exactly how they operated in 2016. They pretend to have standards while rubber stamping every single nominee Trump puts forward. The playbook never changes.
Yes, Matt Gaetz failed, but we still have people like Pete Hegseth. And we should start with him because Senator from Texas, Ted Cruz, who just won re-election, was on CNN's Kaitlan Collins to discuss his process for reviewing Donald Trump's cabinet picks. And we're going to talk about two clips here. The first is Ted Cruz responding to news that Pete Hegseth is undergoing an FBI background check. This after Donald Trump's team initially wanted to bypass the FBI background checks for cabinet members, and whether he will review that background check. Watch this.
The other part of this, obviously, he's faced a sexual assault allegation, which he's denied. Yep. He's had Pete Hegseth's attorney on to talk about that. He's also faced allegations of mismanagement running former veterans organizations. I've also seen people who worked with him defend him in that situation. He's undergoing an FBI background check right now. Will you personally review that FBI background check before you vote yes?
I'm confident that I will. And look, I think the FBI background checks are important. I think they're a process. I have reviewed hundreds of FBI background checks in my time in the Senate. It's an important process.
So you think everyone should get one?
And I think given the allegations directed against Pete Hegseth, his FBI background check is naturally going to be more important. People are going to look at it and say, all right, they're allegations. Allegations don't mean guilt. So how credible are the allegations? What's the evidence? And I think the background check, and Pete, what he said to me is he's eager to have that process go forward.
Do you think there's, given you've reviewed so many, do you think there's anything in it that could change your view of how you're going to vote on him?
Well, sure. I mean, a question like that, yeah, if he, killed someone and dragged their body into the woods, I'd vote no.
Did you catch that? Cruz literally had to go to murder as his standard for rejecting a nominee, sexual assault allegations, substance abuse. Apparently those don't matter. This shows exactly how low they've set the bar.
I don't believe that's going to be the answer.
Right, but that's not your standard for confirming a defense secretary.
Of course not. I picked an absurd example. But yes, of course, with any nominee, if something comes out about them that nobody knows that is deeply concerning, everyone will. That's why you have advice and consent, because you discover things about people's backgrounds.
Did you hear that? If something comes out that is deeply concerning that nobody knows, everyone will. And then he just kind of trails off and interrupts himself because he doesn't want to admit that, apparently, deeply concerning things like sexual assault allegations and allegations of severe substance use disorders don't actually move the needle for folks like Ted Cruz. Everyone will apparently not respond to deeply concerning things, Ted, you included. He even gives us an example of something that could come up in a background check that would cause him to no longer support someone, and goes to murder when we have an allegation of another type of crime that he, I guess, doesn't view as serious. Sexual assault doesn't rate for Ted, I guess. But then the interview turns to this question of whether the president is entitled to his nominees. We keep hearing the Republican...
And there it is, the ultimate Republican hypocrisy exposed. Cruz voted against every Biden nominee except one, but now suddenly presidents deserve deference. They're not even trying to hide the double standard anymore.
Republicans say this, right? And this moment is great between Ted and Kaitlan because she directly calls out his hypocrisy.
The advice and consent is part of the Constitution. It's an important role. But at the end of the day, and by the way, when Joe Biden was president, that's the same way Democrats approached it, which is they voted to confirm whoever he put up.
Yeah, well, and I know, with that, when we hear some Republicans saying, the president's entitled to his nominees, I've heard some people push back and say, well, We've seen Republicans vote against all of Biden's picks. You know, you voted against everyone except Lloyd Austin.
Yeah, but look, I mean, a lot of Biden's picks, I think, were extreme. You look at someone like Merrick Garland. I think Merrick Garland has been the most partisan and political attorney general the country's ever seen. You look at someone like Alejandro Mayorkas, who opened up the border and caused an invasion at our southern border. I was surprised Biden did not nominate more moderate candidates. You look at Trump. Trump's nominated several people who were Democrats until like 12 minutes ago.
This is crucial. Notice how Cruz tries to paint Trump as moderate by pointing to opportunists like Tulsi Gabbard. Classic misdirection to hide the real story. They're stacking the cabinet with loyalists who'll protect Trump's power structure.
Tulsi Gabbard, Robert F. Kennedy
RFK.
Jr.
So the president is entitled to his nominees is only a defense when Republicans want to defend themselves from accusations of cowering to Trump and mindlessly supporting his nominees because, of course, people like Ted Cruz voted against nearly every single one of Biden's nominees. And I'm sorry, but Merrick Garland is a radical. Merrick Garland is the most partisan and political attorney general Ted Cruz has ever seen. The same Merrick Garland who fumbled the opportunity to hold Donald Trump accountable. I'm not sure what world Ted Cruz is living in. And then, of course, we have the part about Trump nominating several people who were Democrats like 12 minutes ago, he says. Even when Tulsi was identifying herself as a Democrat, many on the left correctly pegged her as an opportunist. She is not principled. Same with RFK Jr. Do you remember when it was reported that RFK Jr. had reached out to the Harris campaign for a role in the administration in exchange for an endorsement? That after meeting with the Trump team to discuss a role in the administration in exchange for an endorsement. Harris didn't meet with him. Trump did. We see how that ended up. Is RFK a Democrat or an opportunist who allies with power wherever it might be? I think the latter. As he continues to try to get his cabinet confirmed, Trump has, of course, signaled that he could bypass the Senate and use recess appointments to build his cabinet. This week, Republican Senator Rick Scott went on CNBC to confirm that Republicans would be open to recess appointments.
To get all of his appointees confirmed. And I couldn't tell whether he was sort of foreshadowing some recess appointments or not. How do you see that playing out? Who gets in? Will there be any more that, I mean, I think you know Matt Gaetz pretty well, but what else happens in your view?
Well, first off, we're going to get Trump's nominees confirmed, right? And, you know, if we have to do recess appointments, I think we'll figure out how to do that. But I think, look at his nominees. I mean, Marco Rubio, Pam Bondi from Florida, Mike Waltz, who doesn't have to be confirmed, is going to be National Security Advisor, Susie Wiles from Florida, who's the Chief of Staff. Wonderful people. You look at Pete Hegseth. Here's a guy that's a combat veteran. He knows the risk of sending troops into battle. He's led troops in battle. He knows people that have lost. He knew people that lost their lives. He knows people that have been injured. That's the type of person we want to run the Department of Defense.
Rick, Pete also reportedly has a serious substance use problem. Is that relevant at all? Is that an important consideration for the defense secretary? Donald Trump could just nominate people who are, I don't know, not accused of serious misconduct. He could nominate people for reasons other than them being a blood relative or having married into the family or nearly married into the family. He could nominate people for reasons other than their ability to benefit him personally.
Let's connect all these dots. Cruz exposed their entire game plan, pretend to have standards, ignore serious allegations, block Democratic nominees while rubber stamping Trump's picks, and then gaslight America about being fair. This isn't just about Ted Cruz or even Trump's cabinet. It's about a systematic effort to protect power at any cost. If you're ready to keep exposing this corruption, smash that subscribe button and drop expose them in the comments. The system only works when we let them hide the truth.